luxury hotel claimed they were fully booked for a black woman with a confirmed reservation. They thought she'd quietly walk away. But instead, she made a decision that would leave the hotel staff regretting their actions. Make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any inspiring stories I share. In the heart of a bustling city, the Solace Heights Hotel stood as a beacon of luxury. Its towering white facade shimmered under the sunlight, a fortress of opulence that seemed impenetrable to all but the world's elite. Yet, for Nina Lancaster, it was more than just a hotel. It was a test, a stage where her resilience and resolve would soon be put to trial. At 38, Nina was no ordinary woman. A self-made billionaire, she had risen from humble beginnings as a freelance designer in a cramped Brooklyn apartment to becoming a global icon in eco-friendly architecture. Every project she touched was a statement, proof that sustainability and elegance could coexist. Tonight, she wasn't just a guest. She was an honoree, celebrated for her groundbreaking contributions to sustainable design. Her matte black Maserati glided to a stop outside the grand entrance. Dressed in a sleek emerald green gown, Nina exuded power and grace, though beneath her composed exterior, she felt the familiar undercurrent of unease. She had spent years proving she belonged in spaces like this, spaces that often resisted the presence of women like her. Her assistant, Joy Albright, followed closely, carrying their travel bags. Joy was more than an assistant. She was a confidant, always ready to crack a joke or lend a sharp critique. Sensing Nina's tension, Joy offered a reassuring smile. "Don't worry, boss. I triple-checked everything. Your reservation is confirmed. The gala organizers are expecting you." Nina nodded, her confidence steadying as she stepped through the grand doors. Inside, the lobby was a picture of extravagance, sparkling chandeliers, polished marble floors, and curated art displays. But even amid this beauty, Nina noticed the glances, subtle, fleeting, but unmistakable. When they approached the front desk, the receptionist's smile faltered. "Welcome to Solace Heights," the blonde woman said, her tone courteous but her eyes scanning Nina with thinly veiled discomfort. Nina introduced herself and mentioned her reservation, a suite booked weeks in advance. What followed was a series of delays and excuses that felt all too familiar. "I'm sorry, Ms. Lancaster," the receptionist finally said, her voice strained. "There appears to be a mistake with your reservation. Unfortunately, we're fully booked tonight." It wasn't the words that stung, it was the implication behind them. Nina had faced this kind of treatment before, but tonight, she decided, would be the last time. With a calm but unshakable resolve, Nina turned away, already envisioning her next move. The cool evening air outside the Solace Heights Hotel seemed to bite harder as Nina and Joy stepped away from the grand facade. Joy's anger bubbled over the moment they were out of earshot. "This is outrageous," she exclaimed, her voice trembling with indignation. "A presidential suite booked weeks in advance, and they suddenly have no record?" They knew exactly what they were doing. Nina's steps were measured, her expression unreadable as she scanned the busy street for their driver. She had encountered prejudice before, sometimes overt, more often subtle, wrapped in smiles and excuses like the one she had just endured. But this time, it felt sharper, more deliberate. "Let it go, Joy," Nina said softly, though her eyes betrayed a storm brewing within. "Let it go." Joy's voice rose. "They need to be exposed. Do you know how many people would stand behind you if you called them out? This is the exact kind of behavior people need to see." Nina cut her off gently but firmly. "And then what? They issue a hollow apology, promise to do better, and keep the same policies in place. That doesn't change anything." Joy fell silent, still fuming but understanding the futility of a public spectacle. Their car pulled up, and as they climbed inside, Nina's mind was already spinning. That night, they checked into a boutique hotel a few blocks away. The rooms were smaller, but the staff were warm and welcoming. Over dinner, Joy's anger flared up again as they recounted the day's events. "They didn't even try to hide it," Joy said, stabbing her fork into a salad. "The receptionist, the manager, they all acted like you didn't belong there." "I didn't belong," Nina said evenly. "Not in their version of belonging." Joy looked up, confused. "What do you mean?" Nina leaned back in her chair, her gaze thoughtful. "Places like Solace Heights are built for exclusivity. Their entire identity depends on deciding who's worthy and who isn't. But that's also their weakness. They're stuck in the past." Joy tilted her head, sensing Nina's shift in tone. "So what's the plan?" Nina smiled faintly, her eyes sharpening. "We don't fight them. We replace them." The next morning, Nina dove headfirst into research. Solace Heights was a symbol of wealth and power, but beneath its glossy exterior, she uncovered the cracks. The hotel was financially unstable, struggling with mounting debt and outdated business practices. Worse still, it had weathered multiple PR disasters in recent years, complaints of discriminatory practices, poorly handled scandals, and diminishing returns for its investors. Nina's architectural team, already seasoned in large-scale projects, began analyzing the hotel's blueprints. What could it become? How could it be reimagined as a space of inclusion without losing its luxury appeal? As she reviewed the data, Nina noticed something striking. The hotel's clientele was aging. Younger generations, drawn to boutique experiences and more inclusive branding, were avoiding places like Solace Heights. This insight solidified her vision. Her legal team worked in parallel, studying the ownership structure and identifying its weaknesses. The hotel was managed by a board of investors, many of whom were growing impatient with the current leadership. Nina saw an opportunity, a perfect storm of vulnerabilities that she could turn into her advantage. But this wasn't just about revenge. Nina's vision went beyond settling scores. She wanted Solace Heights to become a symbol of change, a place that celebrated diversity and created opportunities rather than shutting people out. Weeks turned into months as Nina's plan began to take shape. Her architect sketched out modernized designs for the hotel, blending cutting-edge sustainability with timeless elegance. Her PR team crafted a rebranding campaign that highlighted inclusion and innovation. And her legal team prepared an offer, a lifeline for the struggling investors of Solace Heights Holdings. Joy, ever the skeptic, finally began to see the brilliance of the plan. One evening, as they reviewed the details in Nina's office, she asked, "What happens if they say no?" "They won't," Nina said simply. "They need me more than I need them. And I'm going to make sure they know it." The offer Nina presented to the board was generous yet firm. She proposed not just buying the hotel but transforming it, making it a flagship property for a new kind of luxury hospitality. At first, the board was hesitant. After all, Solace Heights had always catered to an exclusive clientele. But as Nina outlined her vision, complete with detailed financial projections and plans for revitalization, they began to see the potential. "This isn't just an acquisition," Nina explained to the room of skeptical investors. "This is a reinvention, a chance to lead the industry rather than clinging to its shadows." One investor, a gray-haired man who had been silent until now, finally spoke. "Your reputation precedes you, Ms. Lancaster," he said. "But why Solace Heights? You've made your mark in architecture, not hospitality." Nina met his gaze, her voice steady. "Every structure tells a story. This one is begging for a new author." Her confidence was unshakable, and soon the negotiations shifted in her favor. The board signed the papers, and with a flourish of her pen, Nina became the owner of the very hotel that had sought to reject her. When she left the meeting that day, Joy was waiting outside. "How did it go?" she asked anxiously. Nina handed her the signed contract with a triumphant smile. "It's ours." The morning after Nina's acquisition of Solace Heights, her team gathered in her sleek Manhattan office. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the skyline behind her, a fitting backdrop for what she was about to unveil. On the table before her were blueprints, financial reports, and renderings of what Solace Heights could become. "Let's make one thing clear," Nina began, her voice steady and commanding. "This isn't just about fixing what's broken. It's about creating something new, something that stands for the future." Her architects, lawyers, and marketing executives leaned in, eager to hear the plan. Nina pointed to a set of blueprints spread across the table. "The Solace Heights you see today is outdated, both in its design and its values. That ends now. We're reimagining it, starting with the structure itself. Energy-efficient renovations, sustainable materials, and an open, welcoming design." Her chief architect, a wiry man named Carlos, nodded. "We can integrate smart technology into the infrastructure. Think solar panels, water-saving systems, and modular spaces for flexible use." "Perfect," Nina said. "But the heart of this transformation isn't just the building. It's the people." She turned to her HR lead. "Recruitment policies need a complete overhaul. We'll prioritize hiring from underrepresented communities and ensure every employee feels valued and respected. Joy, sitting at the edge of the room, couldn't hold back a grin. Sounds like someone's about to make a lot of noise in this industry. That's the goal, Nina replied, a determined smile tugging at her lips. As weeks turned into months, the vision began to materialize. Contractors moved in, dismantling the old fixtures and replacing them with modern, sustainable alternatives. Gone were the outdated chandeliers and heavy drapes, replaced with sleek designs that balanced elegance with functionality. The hotel's grand ballroom was converted into a multi-purpose event space capable of hosting everything from corporate retreats to local community workshops. The rooftop, once a private club for the elite, was reimagined as a lush garden terrace open to all guests. But the changes weren't just physical. Nina launched an aggressive PR campaign to announce the transformation of Solace Heights into the Phoenix of Solace Heights. The new name symbolized rebirth, arising from the ashes of exclusion to a future of inclusion. The campaign was bold and unapologetic. Billboards in the city declared, "Luxury without limits." Social media platforms buzzed with glimpses of the renovations, behind-the-scenes interviews with Nina's diverse team, and stories about the new mission of the hotel. Nina herself became the face of the campaign, giving interviews and speaking at industry events. In one televised interview, she spoke with calm conviction. "Spaces like these have long been symbols of exclusivity," she said. "But luxury isn't about keeping people out. It's about creating an experience that makes everyone feel they belong." Her words sparked widespread discussions online, attracting both support and criticism. Some of the old clientele balked at the shift, voicing their displeasure in op-eds and social media posts. The charm of Solace Heights was its exclusivity, one prominent reviewer lamented. "This feels like a betrayal of its legacy." But Nina was prepared. "Legacy isn't about clinging to the past," she responded in an op-ed of her own. "It's about building something worth remembering." The world is changing, and so are its needs. Inside the hotel, Nina's changes extended far beyond design. Employees were given comprehensive diversity training, and the new hiring policies brought in a vibrant, talented workforce that reflected the city's true diversity. A new mentorship program was established to provide career development opportunities for staff from underserved communities. For Nina, this wasn't just about optics, it was about building a pipeline for long-term change. Guests, too, began to notice the difference. Families who had once felt out of place now found themselves welcomed with warmth and respect. Business travelers praised the hotel's innovation, and influencers began sharing glowing reviews of its inclusive ethos. One day, as Nina walked through the construction site, she overheard two workers discussing the changes. "I heard she used to be a guest here," one said. "Turned away at the front desk. Now she owns the place." "Talk about poetic justice," the other replied, chuckling. Nina smiled to herself but didn't stop to correct them. She wasn't doing this for validation. Her focus was on the future. By the time the renovations were complete, the transformation was breathtaking. The lobby, once cold and imposing, now radiated warmth. A living wall of greenery stretched behind the reception desk, symbolizing the hotel's commitment to sustainability. The suites were redesigned with modern, inclusive layouts, and the amenities catered to a wide range of needs and preferences. The grand reopening was nothing short of spectacular. Guests from all walks of life filled the hotel, mingling in spaces designed to encourage connection rather than separation. The gala's guest list included community leaders, artists, entrepreneurs, and activists. Nina took the stage that evening, her emerald green gown shimmering under the lights. Her voice carried the weight of her journey. "Tonight isn't just about a building," she said. "It's about what we can achieve when we dare to rewrite the story. The Phoenix of Solace Heights is more than a hotel, it's a promise. A promise that no one will be turned away from the place they deserve to stand." The applause was thunderous, but Nina didn't linger in the moment. Her mind was already on the next phase, replicating this model in other cities, creating a network of inclusive luxury hotels that redefine the industry. The day Nina officially took ownership of Solace Heights was one of quiet triumph. There were no grand announcements or dramatic gestures, only the signing of documents in a sterile boardroom surrounded by the very people who had overlooked her value. The members of the board were an assortment of investors, sharp-suited men with well-rehearsed poker faces. But beneath their composed exteriors, some couldn't hide their curiosity about why Nina, a billionaire known for sustainable architecture, would take such an interest in hospitality. One investor, a gray-haired man named Russell Turner, finally broke the silence. "Ms. Lancaster, with all due respect, this seems out of character. Your success has always been in design and innovation, not running hotels. Why this acquisition?" Nina met his gaze evenly, her voice calm but firm. "Because every structure tells a story, Mr. Turner. And this one has been begging for a new author." Her answer silenced the room. They couldn't argue with her track record, nor the substantial financial lifeline her offer provided. When the final signature was inked, Nina leaned back in her chair, her expression serene. The first time Nina walked through the doors of Solace Heights as its owner, the air felt different. Gone were the fleeting glances of suspicion and discomfort that had greeted her months earlier. Now, every eye was on her with a mixture of curiosity, respect, and apprehension. Joy was by her side, grinning like she'd won the lottery. "You sure you don't want me to announce it?" she joked. "Maybe drop a casual, by the way, she owns this place now," as we walk past reception. Nina chuckled but shook her head. "We're not here to rub it in. Let them figure it out on their own." As they approached the front desk, the same receptionist from before, Abigail, was stationed there. Her expression shifted from polite professionalism to stunned disbelief as she recognized Nina. "Ms. Lancaster," Abigail began, her voice faltering. I wasn't informed." "Don't worry," Nina interrupted with a measured smile. "You'll be fully briefed soon." Upstairs, Harold Quinn, the manager who had turned her away, was already packing his office. Nina found him standing amid half-filled boxes and a desk cleared of personal effects. "Ms. Lancaster," he stammered, his usual polished demeanor unraveling. "I had no idea you were. That I was the woman you turned away?" Nina finished for him, her voice soft but unyielding. She stepped closer, her gaze unwavering. "Your lack of awareness has cost you your position, Mr. Quinn." His shoulders sagged as the weight of her words settled in. Without another word, Nina turned and left, leaving him to his thoughts. Under Nina's leadership, Solace Heights underwent not just a transformation but a rebirth. The once exclusive enclave of the elite was rebranded into a sanctuary of inclusion and opportunity. The hotel's hiring policies were completely overhauled, with positions filled by individuals from diverse backgrounds and underrepresented communities. Training programs were implemented to ensure every staff member, from front desk clerks to executive leaders, shared the hotel's new vision. Policies weren't the only thing to change. The hotel's operations became a model for sustainability, with energy-efficient systems and eco-friendly practices integrated into every aspect of its design. Partnerships were established with local artists and vendors, giving the hotel a uniquely authentic charm that resonated with guests. Joy, ever Nina's right hand, couldn't hide her excitement as they walked through the bustling lobby one afternoon. "This place is unrecognizable," she said. "It's like it finally has a soul." Nina smiled, watching as guests of all backgrounds mingled effortlessly in the open lounge. "That's the point," she replied. "It's not just a hotel anymore. It's a promise." Word of Solace Heights' transformation spread quickly, earning widespread acclaim and becoming a case study in how businesses could thrive by embracing inclusivity. Guests who had never felt welcome in such spaces now flocked to the hotel, drawn by its message as much as its luxury. One day, Nina received an unexpected email. It was from a young architect who had been inspired by her story. "I never thought someone like me could make it in this industry," the email read. "But seeing what you've done with Solace Heights has changed everything. Thank you for showing us what's possible." Nina forwarded the email to Joy, who replied minutes later, "Proof you're changing the world, one skeptic at a time." A year later, Solace Heights stood as a beacon of empowerment, its name synonymous with progress and inclusion. The hotel's success had inspired Nina to expand her vision, acquiring and transforming other properties across the country. At the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the second Phoenix property, Nina addressed a crowd of investors, community leaders, and reporters. Her voice carried the same strength and conviction that had driven her journey from the beginning. "We're building more than hotels," she said. "We're building bridges between communities, cultures, and people who were once kept apart. This is just the beginning." The applause was deafening, but Nina didn't linger on the praise. Her mind was already on the next step, the next challenge, the next story waiting to be rewritten. A year after the rebirth of Solace Heights, Nina Lancaster stood at the entrance of the hotel, now known as the Phoenix of Solace Heights. The once imposing facade, which had seemed to loom over her that fateful night, was now a symbol of renewal. Ivy-covered trellises framed the doorway, and the air buzzed with the chatter of guests from all walks of life. Nina observed the scene with quiet satisfaction. Families laughed in the open courtyard, business people mingled in the lounge, and artists sketched under the soft glow of eco-friendly lights. It was everything she had envisioned, and more. Joy appeared at her side, a folder tucked under one arm. "We just got the latest numbers," she said with a grin. "Occupancy is up 40% from last year. We've got a wait list for suites through the next 6 months, and the press is calling it one of the top destinations in the country." "That's good news," Nina said, her voice calm, but the sparkle in her eyes betrayed her pride. Joy chuckled. "Good. It's phenomenal. You've turned this place into a case study for how to do things right. Honestly, Nina, don't you ever just stop and think about how far you've come?" Nina tilted her head, reflecting. "Sometimes," she admitted. "But it's never been just about me. This place was a symbol of exclusion. Now it's a promise to everyone who's ever been told they don't belong. And there's still so much more to do." The success of the Phoenix of Solace Heights was only the beginning. Nina's model of inclusive luxury was spreading to other cities, with properties under renovation or in planning stages across the country. Each hotel was tailored to reflect its local culture while adhering to the core values of sustainability, inclusivity, and community empowerment. Local artists and vendors were prioritized, creating spaces that felt alive and deeply connected to their surroundings. Nina's team began partnering with non-profit organizations to host job training programs, offering underprivileged individuals a chance to build careers in hospitality. The impact rippled outward, changing not just the industry but the lives of countless people. One evening, Nina found herself alone in the hotel's rooftop garden. The city skyline stretched before her, glittering under the night sky. She thought back to that first night when she had walked out of Solace Heights feeling rejected, unwelcome, and unseen. Never again, she had vowed to herself. Now, as she stood here, the owner of not just this hotel but a growing network of inclusive spaces, she knew she had kept that promise. Not just for herself, but for everyone who had ever felt the sting of rejection. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a message from Joy. "Press wants a quote for the 1-year anniversary. Something inspiring. You're good at that." Nina smiled and typed back, "Tell them this. Belonging isn't just a feeling, it's a right. And as long as there are spaces that deny that right, I'll keep building." Nina's journey is a testament to what's possible when resilience meets vision. If her story inspired you, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs a little encouragement, and subscribe for more incredible stories of transformation and triumph.